when I'm in this out of body, my mom picks me up on that exact same jump. There's nobody else out there. It's a sunny day. I'm just on that jump. My mom's picking me up off the ground being like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? And I can't unsee those faces that I never actually saw. You know what I mean?
What if I told you that everything you know is just the beginning? Beyond the veil of the ordinary lies a realm of hidden knowledge, ancient wisdom, and untapped potential. A place where consciousness expands, reality bends, and the impossible becomes possible. You weren't meant to stay asleep. You were meant to awaken. Open your mind, remember who you truly are, and step with me beyond the frequency 369. Welcome back to Beyond the Frequency 369. I'm your host, Cesar Pagan. And folks, I have a special treat for you today. I have Ryan Desbien, who is joining us today first of all, for those of you that don't know him, he's on social media. So at the end of the episode, check out on the description. You'll find out all of his links and stuff. You guys can go there and check him out. But I brought him on board because there's a new event that just started off last year in 2025 called the Psi Games. Now, folks, I've been talking to a lot of people on this show, and a couple of people have mentioned this thing called the Psi Games, right? And I was like, what the hell are you guys talking about? And there's people that actually participated.
Lots.
More importantly, there's also folks that actually, won, and Ryan is one of those champions. So fortunately I want to make sure, Ryan, that I let you know that I am grateful. I'm sitting in gratitude for you gifting me your time. You could be doing anything in the world right now, just sitting with me, talking to me right now and with my audience, and we're going to get to know you a whole lot better. So welcome to the show, Ryan. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Gratitude's mutual, man. You're a big inspiration. I love your messages you put out, man. And totally, I am grateful to be on your podcast, man. So, but let me just so I'm sure people don't know me. I'm new to this community. I am the Happy Gilmore of this community. I'm going to just claim it. So my name's Ryan Desbien. I just want to give a little bit of background. So, in terms of Psi spirituality and dude, I'm going to use words. So I hope people don't take offense, but I want to catch everybody. So not just the Psi community or consciousness community. I want to catch Moto, and I want to catch BMX. I want to catch the average Joe, and I want to catch the person that just heard about the Psi Games, right? So I'm going to use some stuff so people don't hate on me, but I'm using it to catch everybody, right? So what I did is, so let me back up. So I actually have a human services and mental health and counseling degree from Metro State, which is one of the colleges here in Denver. I also have an industrial design degree from the Art Institute of Denver. I'm a busy man. I never stop moving. I actually started a master's in teaching, and I have about 30 years of behavioral and clinical licenses from the state of Colorado. So to kind of get into all that, so before any of this size stuff, right? So to just kind of get people the baseline of who I am. So ever since I was born, I won't say exactly who my dad is, but my dad's hierarchy of government here in Colorado. My mom was a teacher, I'll just say teacher. My mom was a teacher for Boulder Valley School District. In addition to that, both my mom and my dad were a therapeutic foster home. So in addition to them both working full time, I actually had at minimum two special needs foster brothers or sisters that were living with me my entire life till I moved out. And even after I moved out as an adult, I still helped. I was my parents' backup to help make sure those kids were done until some other things I'll get into in a little bit. But so I've just always grown up with folks that are nonverbal, autism, severe mental illness, just physical disabilities, cerebral palsy. I mean, just every sort of really debilitating disease I've been a part of at one point or another. And like I said, since my childhood. This is going to sound weird. This is where it starts to get a little woo-woo. I'm going to use woo-woo throughout the day just because I want to understand, because our community knows what I'm talking about, but the other communities may not, right? So when you work with folks that don't have the ability to speak, You learn a lot of like nonverbal communication. And in addition to that, I've really had, just with being around it my entire life and then getting the actual, clinical education to really be successful in that, I've developed some degree of what I call telepathy, to the point of being able to predict people's, behaviors before they even do them, to predict, and predict's probably the right word. I could say I know what their actions are going to be, but I don't always know. But I've become very skilled at like pattern recognition, at just knowing people's behaviors once I get to know them. I do what's called in education, they're called IEPs. In long-term care settings, they're called behavior plans or care plans, which are these like behavioral kind of modification stuff that we do to help people have the best life they can, help them be the most successful, reduce any sort of risk. A lot of times these folks will have a lot of different behaviors, especially when you get into like long-term care settings with like severe dementia or severe major mental illness. It's a little bit different than kids. Full-on adults that are having behaviors are a little bit different to manage than kids. Not that they're different, but they're just bigger. You know what I mean? They're bigger people, bigger things that happen. So, long story short, I developed a pretty good, a solid intuition base, in terms of like telepathy and even being able to communicate with these people. And so, in addition to that, in that long-term care setting, pre-COVID, so I'm going to do a little bit just pre-COVID, post-COVID. So pre-COVID, there was actually guidelines from the state of Colorado that if a person was actively passing, we would have like hospice providers that would come in. Sometimes our activities staff would do it, but most of the time it was the social work team's job to sit bedside when a person was actively passing. At least that was the protocol at a place I worked for about 12 years. In that time period, I've seen at just that one building probably about 3,200 deaths. I sat bedside at the moment of death for hundreds. I don't know the actual number. I've literally tried to figure it out, and just at some point, you're just like, I just gotta stop. You know what I mean? So, once again, though, at that same token, I say that because it was an honor to be there at that bedside, because I do have a little bit of the telepathy. I can kind of tell what these people are needing to try to make their last minutes. I won't get into. I'm going to go a whole lot happier. This is the darkest part, other than another part. So
you're fine. You're fine. We're getting to know you, so this is great. It's great. Good.
So when a person's in their last minutes, there's a lot of things the body will typically do. So you know it's imminent. I won't say exactly, but just some very common things are like modeling or what's called the death rattle. There's just these things that your body typically will do, modeling, and it's just these things that happen in your body that are the signs that we're probably less than 5 hours, I guess would be the way to put it.
Sure.
And so what happened is nursing staff can't constantly be in there for 5 hours when they have a whole wing or group of folks that they're looking after. So they would put in a social worker, or a lot of times people would have hospice. They would come in with like a chaplain, or they're one of their social workers, so we could the facility staff could continue to do their thing. But when that wouldn't happen, and you just you're trying to connect with them, and man, I know you're kind of a spiritual guy too, so I'm just going to throw this out, but make it as watered down as I can. I truly believe in the soul, man. I'm not a super religious guy. I don't believe that any one religion's better than the other. I think everybody gets to their culture and their path for spirituality or psychic. Everybody kind of has their own way. There's not a one size fits all, in my opinion. But where I'm going with this is that, when people are passing and you're sitting there with them and you're in those last moments, a lot of the communication will come through the eyes. And so eyes are a really big communication point for me, because even if you're not able to speak, I can just pick up what you're doing from your eyes. I don't need anything else really. And in those moments, in addition to just trying to ease them or help them or just make those last minutes as comfortable as they can, I want to say two things. There's an orange like glimmer or spark or sparkle in the back of the pupil that I think is the soul, man. It's the spark. It's the fire. You know what I mean? Like, and I guess maybe that's just my way of describing it, but there's this like literally a orange or yellow spark in the back of the pupil that I think is the soul, that light, that ignition, right? It's the spark plug to the body. And you can see when that turns off, the body loosens and the soul releases, right? And I would be remiss if I didn't say I haven't seen the actual soul kind of leave the body, not in like a physical, I'm seeing like smoke or it's got some sort of, but like you can just feel everything around it. You can feel the energy, right? And so I have all this lead up with this, man. So I've got a career of this, you know what I mean? And so, and 99% of it is not that, you know what I mean? That's the hard part. Getting kind of punched and kicked is also the hard part, but you know, like it's at the same token, it's just where those people are, right? It's meeting people where they are. And man, there would be no point in me taking offense or getting upset about a person with a dementia. You know, dementia is where your brain is kind of physically shutting down in areas, and you're losing those memories, you're losing those abilities just because that brain matter is deteriorating, right? And so you can't get mad at something like that, man. It's just that's where that person's at, right? And you can't take it to heart, and you just, you know, developing some thick skin just from the beginning. Probably in the psychic stuff has been a good thing because I've just, you know, when people say things, you just learn that that's usually just a projection of whatever they're trying to put out, right? And so, long story short, all this death, all this kind of telepathy and all this other stuff, you know, just unconditional positive regard, dude. My parents and my college people all taught me, and I just truly believe we're all doing this for the first time, man. We're all doing this human experience for the first time, and you and I have had a lot of exposure to things that kind of help expand us. And man, there are just as many people that are only in situations that reduce them. You know what I mean? And maybe that's all they know. You know, dude, I'm a philosophy guy. I love Alan Watts. I've never actually shown everybody my tattoos. I'm not going to do it on your show, but I have a Sisyphus. So Sisyphus is the one that actually pushes the rock up the hill just to have it roll down. And, you know, and so I have a punk rock dude kicking a rhino in the testicles. Just kind of this, like, because my nickname's Rhino, just kind of this tattoo of like this moment of just like, you know, life ebbs and flows. We're all doing this for the first time. There's always going to be difficulty, and it's just a matter of persevering, right? And seeing a challenge as a thing to lift you up. Even though you're having to work going up that hill, it's still bringing you higher. You know what I mean? And there's going to be a point where you hit it and it kind of goes back down, and life gets to reteach you those lessons on the way back up again, man. So, that all being said, here comes the more fun stuff. So me and my wife, I just want to say this to you, me and my wife are actually a therapeutic foster home as well till we had our second child, our first. My wife's just over here. First child. Sorry. So we had multiple therapeutic foster kids living with us till we had our kids. I won't say anything more, but we had an experience with our kid being born that we were like, well, it's probably just time to, you know, we've not that we want to not have these relationships. I still have relationships with my parents, you know, kids and our kids. One of them works at a grocery store, so we see him all the time. So it's not like we lost the connection or anything that, you know, so it's still like friends or family, man. And family looks all sorts of different ways for us. Right. And so, getting into the fun stuff. So there's one more dark part, but it's all generally fun for me.
Sure.
So I'm also a multi-sport professional athlete. I post videos of this stuff all the time. So I'm actually a national motocross racer and supercross racer and arena cross racer. And we race pit bikes. We race hare scrambles. We race enduro cross. We race BMX. So me and my sons are both national BMX racers. Both my sons are national champion BMX racers. My wife's actually a state champion BMX racer. So we do that. I'm actually a world long drive champion for golf. And I guess I say all that not to gloat. I mean, I can gloat a little bit because I put in the work, but I say that all because, and I'll get into the Psy Games stuff. What you learn through doing all these sports, man, is and having a job and being a father. I have 2 kids and we still have their sports and they're still traveling. And, you know, you learn how to find some balances, right? You learn how to balance your own with your families, with the career and the dreams, right? And that I will just tell everybody right now, especially in this like last 6 months, probably 8 months, I guess at this point, post Psi Games, I'm really having to learn that because we now have an international schedule as opposed to Ryan's just, you know, dirt bikes on the weekends and 9 to 5 during the week. So it's just this, I just want to tell people, finding that balance, man. And to some degree, it does take time, whether it's the dirt bikes or the Psy or any of these other things that I'll talk about. You have to put the time and effort and energy in, right? What I always say, man, I've posted this from the beginning before any of the Psy stuff, is your heart matches your words, matches your actions. That triad, and there's all different ways of saying it, but that's my personal way. That triad puts things in place where you can achieve. And even if you're not achieving exactly what you want, you're heading that direction. You know what I mean? And I guess I tell everybody that because, man, that's a pretty weird spectrum of things. You know what I mean? And
not weird at all.
And like, to some degree, I always make jokes that I'm the dude that can ride the unicycle and juggle and balance the plates all at the same time. Like, where else is that applicable unless you're in those environments? So I totally will agree with people on that. But it's just putting in the hustle, man, putting in the time and energy and effort to these things that I wanted to accomplish. You know what I mean? And so we do all these sports. We learn, we get to meet all these people, do all these experiences, man. I won't go into details because I could literally ramble for about 4 hours. I'm going to try to condense it as much as I can, but we have these experiences on Big Island. That one was so powerful where we actually get introduced to these people that are doing like ATV and side-by-side tours through Big Island up in the mountains, right? And so because we're dirt bike guys and they know who we are, and it was us and another group and my father and stuff. So they take us up on these side-by-sides. Me and my wife get ATVs because that's kind of the more aggressive version of what they had. But long story short, they take us to this like spring up near where it was snowing. Believe it or not, people, there's snow in Hawaii on Big Island. But there's a spring that just comes out of these rocks. There's no river, there's no lead up, and it kind of just pours into this like pond. And this pond has like a little like, stream that rolls down, but the pond itself has all these like ancient like hieroglyphs, and it's just it's a sacred spot, right? And so this guy brought us up there and made a big point to tell us that this was not part of the normal tour, and we did this, and when we got up there, they invited us to do like a meditation or like a ceremony up there. It's just that one experience is because you have these powerful experiences that hit your heart, man. And once those are in, those are locked in, man. There's so many different things that I've experienced that are just seared into my heart. And then that becomes part of my personality. Right. And so, we have these experiences on Big Island. We have all these animal experiences all the time. Some are amazing and some are pretty comedic. I'll just give really a couple of the highlights of it, right? So, let me just say one more thing. And so, like in Colorado, we have a lot of Native American stuff as well, especially as you go further south, more like into like New Mexico and like those kind of areas. Dude, all sorts of Native American experiences. My mother's side is actually part Native American. My father's side is French Canadian, hence Desbien. But long story short, so we've done all these things too, and I'm a social worker. I love to participate in everybody's cultures. So it was just always really important to me to be, especially when people would want me to come, they wanted to share this with me. I would make effort, energy, and time, right? Because not only to support them, but just, I don't know, man. I said this before, and I've only said this one other time. I plan to have the biggest, baddest dad lore of all time. So, because, dude, I've had so many concussions. I know I'm going to get a dementia. So when
you said you want to have the biggest, baddest what?
Dad lore of all time.
Dad lore?
Dad lore, like, because my kids already are like, because they don't want to talk about me because they're like, well, what does your dad do? Well, my dad's a supercross, and my dad's a dirt biker, and my dad's doing all this. Now he's the psychic guy. Like they're just like, no, I don't want to talk about my dad. He's just a cool guy. Yeah. So I'm gonna keep building that dad lore, those experiences, that color palette, man. So that way, because man, I'm good at getting off track, but I have all these things I want to say. Dude, you get one life, and where I was gonna go after this, I'll explain why that statement, that the one life is really important to me. Dude, you get one life. You get one chance to dance. Alan Watts talks about it being a dance, man. You get one chance, and you can, and not, don't get me wrong. There are people that get a bad hand of cards to start with, and, and they can, people around them and themselves can help make the best choices to help achieve what they want, right? But for the average Joe, for the normal person, man, the sky is the limit, and it's just a matter of taking that heart matches, words matches, actions, man. You only get one life, and there's many different religions and things that will say there's some sort of a judgment, right? And I'm not going to say
Yeah.
any one, but maybe a weight of like good versus bad, so some sort of a balance, right, is taken to see if you go one way or the other, right? And so
Right.
within all that, I don't think that moment of balance is a balance of my good versus bad, man. Balance of good versus bad is kind of subjective, depending. The victor always dictates how history plays out, right? So
Right.
within all that, I think that question is more of a question to you and your soul. Did you accomplish everything you wanted to accomplish when you had that time to dance? Did you dance, or did you sit
Yeah.
on the sideline and let it kind of go past? Did you squander it? You just ate a whole bunch of pretzels on the side of the dance. You know what I mean? Or you know what I mean? I just feel
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
in my soul, I know what's going to be asked of me is, Ryan, did you get everything done you wanted to get done in that time period? And
Yeah.
God darn it, dude, I am pushing.
You're creating. Let me mention this. First of all, you have an amazing, extensive resume of life thus far. How old are you? Can I ask?
Yeah, man. So I'm 42.
42, man, and that's, first of all, that's young for those of you that may be younger. I'm 44, so those of us that those of you that are younger and think that once you hit your 40s is like, nah, man. I mean, look at Ryan, right?
Dude.
I want to ask you that. I want to ask you, like, before. Oh, actually, first of all, very important. I want to commend you and your spouse and your family for bringing all these children who need assistance. I know you're kind of carrying on what your parents have done and things like that, but the impact that you're leaving on these children it's just a beautiful thing. I mean, they can't get it anywhere else and everything. So I want to thank you for what you're doing, and if there's any way that even my show can help support whatever you're doing, let me know also as well,
Absolutely.
I want to say, you, before you got into all of this adrenaline, high, what do you call it, motor octane, I don't know what they call it, before you got into all of that, have you done that when you were a child too? Were you doing little dirt bikes and things like that?
Dude, BMX has been my life. So always BMX and bicycles. Motocross kind of came, kind of in the early teens, maybe like 11 or 12. BMX has just always been there since the beginning. I had bicycle jumps on the side of my house, and this was a very, very condensed suburban area. So like we would, part of it too is like just teaching my kids like to be outside and do stuff with their hands and not be on technology, right? Best way to teach your kids eye and hand coordination that is not video games is have them build a bicycle ramp or a dirt bike ramp. Spend $50, buy some wood from Home Depot, and they learn how to use tools. They learn how to use their hands. You throw like a little 1.5-foot bicycle jump out there. They get some fun. They're not going to get majorly hurt. I mean, maybe they might, but probably not.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
But
dude, it brings it back a little bit old school, man. Like when I grew up, not to say that we shouldn't be more cautious, because things are completely different than they were when I was a kid too. Like I'm totally aware of that, right? But it's, just bringing people outside, dude. Like I'm an open book, man. I have all these things I want to say because I want to get back to my near-death experience and this gate program and all this other stuff. But dude, like last night, I had both my kids come out. So we actually had another podcaster named Justin, who I just had one drop. He actually came out because we see orbs, dude. It's all over the board. We are all over the board.
Yeah.
So if I this is where I get squirrely. But we see orbs, and so he actually came over with all of his high-tech equipment last night. I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, I'm feeling it. Because we were going to go ride bikes. He's, I just realized he's like just up the road, and he's a BMX dude too. So
nice.
Long story short, I didn't end up doing the bikes with him because we were doing another podcast. But long story short, he comes over afterwards, right? He comes over with all this high-tech camera equipment and these infrareds. And I'm like, okay, the whole thing with all this size, like you just, I know, but I don't know. Do you know what I mean? And so I had this idea that like every intuition, my heart, my bones, my skin, everything is feeling it's going to be this amazing night. And he needs to come over. Like tonight's night, dude. We're gonna get a clear sky. You got time, I got time. I'm feeling it. Come over. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
me and my family all go out there, and he's out there. He's got all of his camera stuff set up. I have like a little mini little mini. I cannot speak. Little mini putt course on my property, and so it was just kind of flatter, so we were able to set up the tripods out there, and we put like a fire pit out there, and dude, it was nuts last night. We literally had one that was around for about 2 minutes that like was communicating, flashing with us, and I'm sure Justin's gonna show it. We like 3 hours straight of like an action movie, and you're just you don't even know what you're gonna see next, right? Because it was just so crazy. And it was this will be the only orb stuff I'll talk about, but like there was a point where like me and my wife are out there, my youngest son was out there, and so Justin's orbs usually show up around Cassiopeia, that constellation. My orbs that typically come to my house show up just on the horizon to the west, and there's nothing out there but fracking and fields, right? And so there's nothing out there. A ways away is another airport, but you'll see when I post the videos, you'll see this. Not anywhere near us. And we live near DIA, but we're facing the wrong direction completely. But long story short, his orbs are showing up. My orbs are showing up. They're crossing and like communicating to each other like, hey, we don't know you. Like dogs for the first time. You know what I mean? Like, hey. You know what I mean? And so I mean, and it was just so funny. We even had two that like kind of crossed and like did like a little thing, and it was just amazing, man. And
were they different colors or anything like that?
We had these ones. So mine typically show up like bright and glow a gold or like a red or an orange. Not like a floodlight from an airplane, but like the kind of flicker in between all those.
Yeah.
Justin's were coming in like blues and whites and like more like stars, but then they would go crazy. Like mine kind of have a routine. They like to come up, flash, and kind of fly towards my house. And of course, right before I would get anywhere where I could get to see anything, they fade out.
Yeah.
Justin's kind of come just from Cassiopeia or the Big Dipper and like kind of zoom across. We get a lot of stuff from the Big Dipper too, but they kind of zoom across or come and do their little thing in this like area, but they just kind of stay in that one area of the sky. So it was just a fun night, man. And I just had to say that because I'm still kind of coming down from that last night. And
of course.
We ended up doing some Psy training with him too. And we're doing some international Psy training now. And before I get into that, I gotta say,
what do you mean by international Psy training? You training people overseas?
Yep, exactly. So, and I want to do one more thing before we get into all that Psy stuff.
Sure, so, go for it.
So my mom has been a huge important part of all this. My mom was always kind of metaphysical. She wasn't really like psychic, but maybe she was. But she was just really into like metaphysical. She would talk about spirit animals, and she was into like crystals and minerals. And once again, I'm not saying any of that's good, bad, or indifferent. I just that was my mom's thing. And some of that stuff, dude, on the backside of all the Psy stuff, some of the stuff seems to be okay. Well, maybe mom was right about some of it. You know what I mean? Other stuff, I'm like, oh, that doesn't fit for me, but. At the same token, my mom was just always this inspiration, man. And she was the pack leader. She would talk about how she was this wolf animal spirit. And she was, man, between the foster kids, myself, my family crew alone would be like 5 to 6 people. And then, we would have my friends that would come in. And so all of my friends, one thing I want people to know is that everything I say is 100% accurate. I make up nothing. And and I'll get kind of why that's also really important going to the Psy stuff. But to get to where I want to go with all this. So my mom gets diagnosed with cancer in 2008. I graduate in 2009. So we're kind of figuring out where I want to go because I actually graduated with that industrial design degree, and I got a job offer to go make cars for Acura and also to design body armor for the military. But I would have had to uproot where I was in Colorado, and my mom had just been diagnosed, and they still had foster kids at that time. So it was just a lot of like, not that I couldn't put myself forward and that I shouldn't keep trying to achieve, but it's like also like my family needs my help. We got to make it work from there, right? And so I ended up forbearing my student loans and kind of passing on those opportunities. Ended up going back and getting all the human services, mental health, and counseling stuff. And the reason I say all that is so my mom was just this huge inspiration. You know, we've dude, on top of all that, we've won about probably how many, Brandy? 15 like high-end like Comic-Con style costume contests where like we create
You and your mom?
me and my mom and me and my wife. And dude, my costumes would require
Wow.
like 2 or 3 handlers because they would be like 20 feet long and like,
Oh wow!
like
what's your like, I don't know, your top 2 or 3? I mean,
dude, 100%. And it's the worst one because I only ever won 3rd place with it, and it was like a 2-month build, and I only ever won 3rd place. I built this dinosaur before like
a giant dinosaur.
Yeah, so before Universal, because it's the same idea, but I did it way before then. So like, we're talking like 2010 is I think when I made it, and I rolled it out in like 2014. But anyways, very similar to the suits that they wear at like Universal, where like you can see their legs, and so I built like the prototype of that, legit, and we like took it, T-Rex. I built a T-Rex. Sorry, she wanted me to make sure it was a T-Rex.
Yeah.
So we built this like prototype T-Rex, and we won all this stuff with it, but I only ever won 3rd place. I built Jaws. I built Jaws. You know what I mean?
Oh wow.
So
wow.
I have like a full Juice or Bruce that hangs in my thing, and I was actually Quinn, and Bruce ate me on stage, and then my friend built the orca out of this like box essentially, but it looked really good. It looked really good like the orca, and he was the sheriff. And so he would like, he's like, "Die, you son of a bitch," on stage. And like, so, and then I of course had like these like fake guns that blow up. Like we did like a show.
Oh my
gosh. We ended up getting second when we did the show. Brandy, what's the one we've won the most with? The bug. Yes. Okay. So I built a like 12-foot praying mantis that has all these like spindly legs and stuff.
Yeah.
And that one's won the most. That one I've won multiple with. But dude, so like
I love it.
I guess so my mom's creativity, right? And so what my mom and the Art Institute really taught me was how to think things through forwards and back, inside and out. You know what I mean? Just because of what you're seeing on the outside doesn't mean that that's at all how it's working on the inside. You know what I mean? And just really analyzing that, right? And thinking mechanically and thinking, I'm a dirt bike dude. You got to make repairs. I'm sponsored, but I'm not that sponsored. I still do all my own bike repairs, or at least the ones I can, you know what I mean? So you just kind of learn like life mechanics, I guess would be the way to put it, how things work, how to best do, weight bearing structures and things like that. So, and I'll tell you why I'm saying all this. So long story short, we do all this fun art stuff. My mom's there. My mom sees a couple of my championships. She ends up passing in 2015 of a brain aneurysm. She actually was getting her chemo and her port, had the brain aneurysm, so was luckily at the hospital. Talk about the worst part of being psychic, man. I knew when I got that call, when I picked up that phone that time, and it wasn't any different of a time. Like my phone rings at that time every day, nothing uncommon, but I just knew when I'm picking them up, like, this one feels different. Why does this feel different? And my dad was on the phone. He's like, "You need to get there right now. Your mom's having a hard time." So we get there literally within about 2 minutes of me getting there, just literally long enough to be like, "Mom, I'm here." She ended up passing. She passes for 4 minutes. They rush her out. They're trying to do the stuff on her. I get to see all the craziness that, I had been exposed to. Like, this is the other part, man, that I've never said on any other podcast. As much as I love all the good stuff that I've been a part of and in that like clinical realm, it kind of jaded me from my mom's death, right? Because in my mind, I'm sitting there like, well, it's social worker time. Now mom's going to need to go into therapy. She's going to need this, you know what I mean? And kind of took away that what I probably should have been feeling in that moment, you know what I mean? And not that anybody did anything wrong with that, just the part of the career, I guess, but
I'm wondering if like that you've when you've seen so much of death and you have this process, then all of a sudden one of the most important people in your life, your mother, that experience, it kind of blends in with the rest. Is that what it was?
Yeah, and it just kind of lost some of its pop that I think I probably I'm gonna just take one moment here. It's still processing it too to some degree, man. Just because I get all sorts of good reminders of my mom, especially post Psy Games. but I'll give you the lead up past that. So we'll jump off that negative part, not negative, but just, a little bit downer part. So then I die. So I end up, so my mom passes in like April. We're midway through season. I'm fired up. I'm trying to do all these things to kind of represent my mom. I end up having like a streak of like 2 or 3 podiums. I'm like, I'm going to win this championship for my mom, and it was meant to be.
What were you competing in?
So this was motocross at that time. So this is outdoor dirt bikes, big jumps. And I also do supercross, which is in like stadiums and big jumps, what they're doing right now. But at that time it was motocross. And so it was actually at a track I had ridden 1,000 times, my main track, literally my home track that is just down the road. It's called IMI. I just hit a jump weird, and I was going about 60 miles an hour. So maybe it might be better like this. So when you hit a jump, right, you want to jump and you want to land going forward. So when I went off this jump, it threw me sideways. So the rear end of my bike did what's called a high side, and I ended up landing sideways, basically face first into the dirt. And I ended up dying in front of all my friends and family and sponsors. I was dead for 4 minutes, which is it's pretty weird that kind of time frame was both me and my mom's thing. It steered into my oldest son's head. He won't race dirt bikes. He's a good dirt bike racer, but he won't race dirt bikes because he saw that. He'll stick to the BMX. And my youngest actually is a motocross racer. But he hasn't seen any of that yet. So he's only seen the championship. So he's still all about it. But
keep going,
right. My wife sees it. My family sees it. My friends see it. I was in the hospital for about 2 weeks. Thank God I didn't have anything worse than what ended up happening. I ended up basically breaking everything on my left side. And once again, dude, I've had at this point, 30 years of breaking bones. So I'm pretty sure if anybody ever digs me up after I'm done, they're going to think I'm a cyborg or something, good or bad. Yeah. But so I end up dying while I'm dying, or not dying when I died. And once again, man, I don't know if it was the 4 minutes. I don't know if it was the 2 weeks. But in that time frame, I'm having this out of body experience with my mom. And so my mom's go-to was to pull me around by my ear, in a joking way. The same jump, I remember being at the track. I remember that they put extra sand down on this track that day, and that, I went out to race and then nothing. Right. And so when I'm in this out of body, I end up physically in that out of body experience, not in real life, obviously, but in my out of body and my consciousness, my mom picks me up on that exact same jump. There's nobody else out there. It's a sunny day. I'm just on that jump. My mom's picking me up off the ground being like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? And I would be remiss if I said I could remember everything that was discussed, but the overall tone was that she showed me my past, present, and future, right? Look at all this opportunity you've had, and because you got greedy, instead of just doing your normal thing, you were trying to show me something you've already shown me. You know what I mean? You don't need to show me anything. And then she would show me my oldest son's face, man. And whether that was me creating that face or me seeing that through a telepathy, man, between my wife and my dad and my kid, I can't unsee those faces that I never actually saw. You know what I mean? And the impact of me passing and, just things I hadn't really considered, right?
Hey, it's Cesar Pagan, the host of your favorite podcast, Beyond the Frequency 369. What if the truth has been hidden in plain sight all along? My new book, Cesar's Chronicles, The Anunnaki in Us, is more than a fantasy. It's a gateway into forgotten truth pulled from ancient texts and hidden history. Through Cesar, an Anunnaki being, you'll see a version of humanity's origin that challenges everything you've been told. It's written for curious minds, young and old, and it's out now. Grab your copy on Amazon, $8.99 for the ebook, $13.99 for a paperback. Use the link below or scan the QR code. Your support keeps this show alive. So, what if your reality isn't the whole story? Are you ready to challenge your reality? Let the journey begin.
And then I see my future of if you stay greedy, man, sure, you're going to get all this money. Dude, at these facilities, I had so many millionaires that would die alone. You know what I mean? And I think people in this lifetime put so much value on money. And don't get me wrong. We all need money. We all got to pay our bills. You got to make a living. But but the value of life is not the money, man. The value of life is not cutting corners to make profit. It's to help people live, man. And so I've just always I've been a little bit righteous in that aspect, and I've had to quit places because, you know, if you're going to cut corners on giving a person therapy that needs to learn how to walk again because you want to make an extra $2,000, I can't work for you. You know what I mean? So within all that, so I die, I come back, and I get what I call this color overlay, and in the best way I can describe it, man. And this is going to make it sound real weird, but anybody that's had a concussion might be able to relate with this. So when I had that injury, I had traumatic brain injury. My whole left side got damaged. Everything from my shoulder through all my ribs, my leg, my hip, my back, and my head, right? And so my brain. So luckily it wasn't too bad, or at least I don't think it was that bad. But I come back with this color overlay. So it affected my vision. And so when I had previous concussions, I've had my head rocked a couple of times. Sometimes you get kind of a yellow tint, or maybe you get like a red tone, and your vision kind of just comes back, and your brain kind of reorganizes back to normal life. Mine just never did. And so even right now with you, man, I get like color outlines to everything, and they come in like blues and greens and yellows flashes, right? And so physically with my eyes, I'm seeing everything. I see you, I see the computer. It's not like there's anything else, but I also get this like 3D, like old school, like red and blue goggles or glasses kind of projection off of things that also kind of carry emotion. And this is where it starts to get real woo-woo, and I'll get into the Psy stuff. But I get these color flashes, and the best way I can describe it, dude, and like you can get them too. I just don't know that everybody gets the like emotions that I get with them. But like if you just like hold your eyes and like kind of rub them a little bit, you'll start to get that mandala blues and purples and greens, and so imagine that. But every time that hits you, it has like an emotion or like an abstract feeling. And you could be driving your car, and then all of a sudden you're like, I wonder what the temperature's like in Mongolia right now. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden you're thinking of that, and then you can be over there. And so this color overlay gives me like a 3D version, or like at the end of the newest Willy Wonka, where he's walking through the shop and they have the moment with, dude, that movie makes me cry. No matter what Willy Wonka it is, it makes me cry. Especially this last one, because he reunites the mom, and it's this moment, and then they're walking to the factory, and as he's walking to the factory, he just sees everything that's happening before it even happens, right? He can see the outcomes. He can see the future. He already knows the mechanics of how the waterfall is going to work and where he's going to put it. And I guess this color overlay kind of gives me all of that. Do you know what I mean? And so,
yeah. So I want to make sure, just for folks that are following as well. So you are, because we know signals have frequencies, colors, things like that. You're seeing the colors, and when they hit you, when you receive it, you feel the emotion of each different color.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Man,
that's not weird at all. It's not weird at all, man.
Well, it's good and bad too, man, because then the same way that you can kind of predict those futures and predict what people's behaviors are going to be, when people are just full of nonsense. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know when people are manipulating you, and when people are feeding you things that are going to benefit them instead of mutually or you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And dude, I just got to tell you, your response to me, and I had not really met you. We've not talked, like we talked a moment before, but you don't know anything that's coming, what I'm about to do with any of these demonstrations. But dude, you can just feel it off you. You care about people. You can see it in your eyes. You can see it in your tones. You can see it in your interactions and in your videos too, man. Everything about your nonverbal says you're there. You're trying to help people, and you're real, right? And so there are many, many people that is not the vibe they give. You know what I mean? And not being able to turn that off. So there are times, dude, where you just have to be like, yeah, okay, it's great to meet you. I'm gonna hit the old dusty trail. You know what I mean? So you know what I mean? So there's that side of it, but we get this color overlay. In addition to all this, I'm gonna back up just one more time, because there's two more great things I gotta tell you.
You're good.
I'm kind of watching time. I know we're in the home stretch, but so dude, I have always had this underlying precognition even before dying. Dude, I can win in Vegas. I've shown it on command. I can win in Central City here in Colorado.
Wait, so what is that? Sorry, Ryan. What is that? What does that mean? You can win in Vegas?
Oh
You're talking about
man,
like
it's exactly what you
casino?
think. Every way you can possibly think, man. But
Yeah, nice.
I've won slot machines. I've won roulette. I've won lots of money. I've lost lots of money, but I've won lots of
Yeah,
money. All my friends tell these stories. I have a story from, and you know, honestly, I just kind of put it on the back burner because it's just one more thing for me. But these things hit other people like, oh my god.
yeah,
Dude, I'm old enough. Back in the day when you could just put a penny into a slot machine before you had to put your card in or any of this other nonsense.
yeah.
We were up in this place called Central City, and I had a penny, and I put a penny into a penny machine and won $500 the first time. No warm up. We're literally coming out of the dinner, and I'm like, let's go have a fun night. And I'm like, boom, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
dude, there's all these things. I used to win so much in Mandalay Bay that like MGM owns Mandalay Bay, and they own like a handful of hotels on the strip that we got like their platinum crazy gold. You know, we got our own entrance and we had our own things at this place. And
Wow.
my favorite part of it, dude, I'm just gonna say it, is Mandalay Bay had a resident band at that time that would play out of the House of Blues called Steel Panther. And
Oh yeah.
dude, Steel Panther is my favorite band of all time. We know Michael Starr and Satchel and all them. My wife's been on stage a bunch. My mom, who at that time she had a mastectomy, my mom went on stage as Steel Panther, both in Vegas and here in Colorado. So, you know, my family's just nuts, right? And so, winning, we've jumped off every building. I have videos of me doing like backflips off the stratosphere. You know, but this is a minute ago though too. Before I think before lawsuits became a little bit bigger than they were. This is, you know, we're talking like when X Games was like huge, and you know, you were a little bit more of a rock star than you are now. So, racing's big now. But long story short, I have to say that, man, because the precognition's been there, and I got the trophies and receipts, guys. So you know what I mean? Absolutely. Like that was my way of proving to people because I would tell people I'm psychic. Because dude, like. Especially when for like 6 hours straight, you're walking with a group of like 15 people and being like, I'm going to go win us all some money so we can all go eat and no one has to pay for anything. First one up, $500. $500 turns into $1,500. $1,500 turns into $5,000. All of a sudden, we're buying breakfast and all of our rooms are paid, and I'm walking home with some change. Yeah. You know what I mean? And
well, you're a creator. You're right. You're creating in motion,
dude.
You know,
yes.
and you actually don't you don't feel that side of judgment. You don't feel that side of fear. You live
just
as you are. Yeah,
exactly,
you just do
authentic.
It. So it's a beautiful thing, man.
So we go through all this Vegas stuff. I told you about all the other stuff. So long story short, we now know, and I have this track record between Vegas and this behavioral stuff, and everybody sees it all the time. Dude, I actually worked in my wife's school for a moment in their autism classroom, and I was like known as like the dude, like when like a handful of kids would have consistent behaviors, and they just be like, all right, send Ryan in, and we like get it worked out in like 2 minutes, and it's like nothing. But if they just left that person in there with the teacher, it'd like escalate to something so much more, right? So all this verification, but not really a professional place to put it. And so now we're going to get into the Psy Games. So in like April, Emily Bledsoe puts out a post about the Psy Games. I think her name's Dana. I finally remembered the lady's name. Dana put out a post as well about the Psy Games as well. She was like, it's going to be the Hunger Games of the psychics. And so I look it up, right? And I have my friend Cheryl, so my wife's there too. I come in kind of bounding, like my wife tells it better than me, but I'm excited for it, man. I'm like, well, dude, there's going to be an opportunity in a real setting to show that you were psychic. You know what I mean? And I can sit here and say I'm psychic all day, and we can go to Vegas and whatever. I might be the luckiest in the world.
Just let me interrupt real quick. So this post was put out on the internet somewhere, and you just happened to see it, or was it word of mouth?
By happen chance. Because at that time I wasn't really even following Emily Bledsoe or Dana. I'm gonna be completely honest with you, dude. I honesty is always the best policy. There's a dude called Nexor, and it would be this Nexor Reacts, and that's actually who also introduced me to like Jordan Crowder, and So this guy would do these reaction videos to this kind of consciousness stuff, right? And so I catch all of that through them or through that guy. And what's funny is I don't even watch that guy anymore because now I watch the real people that do it instead of the reaction guy. So I catch it all through there, right? And so I look it up. I come in, I tell my family about it. Everyone's like, well, are you going to do it? Because, I mean, maybe you should because, I mean, we don't know what else you're up against, but at least you've shown. So yes, at least try to do precognition, right? And so we go into the website, we find out what the application is going to look like. I put in my application. About 2 weeks later, I get a response back saying, hey, if you want to do this, you have to test. And so, post Psy Games, I've met with Akeem and kind of got all the reasoning behind everything, but they put us through about 2 weeks of tests where you had to do a certain amount of tests in each of the games. So the games were psychokinesis, which is moving stuff with your mind, or telekinesis. Psychokinesis is like the book version. Telekinesis is like how you would say it. There is remote viewing, and remote viewing is exactly what you think it is. Dowsing, and I'll tell you how they did that. Precognition, I'll tell you too. That was another one I did well in, and mind sight. And I know you're a mind sight dude. So they have these testings, right? And so you sign up, they give you this code to get into another testing program format, and you start testing. You have 2 weeks to do these tests, right? And so I'm a clinical dude. I'm motocross. I'm BMX. I have never I knew what the Monroe Institute was because I knew like Carl Jung and like MBTIs and kind of the best clinical standard of a lot of these folks that did the Psi stuff as well, because they also studied like, consciousness and mental illness and all these other things, right? But I only knew that side of it. I didn't really know the psychic side. So me and my friend Cheryl, we just were like, all right, man, well, if I do this, I'm going to need help because I have no idea. And if we're going to do it, I want to go and show, dude. I don't enter a race unless I think I'm going to make a podium. I may not win the race. And I know that there are times that I may not win the race. I may not be the fastest, but I know I'm going to podium. I'm going to be up there. You know what I mean? And so when I go, dude, like I put in the work, you know what I mean? I want to make sure I am the most prepared dude on that stage. So that, at least if we go, we don't get laughed off, man. Because I had no idea what it was going to be. You know what I mean? I had no idea who I was up against either. You know what I mean? And so
you had no idea what it was going to be, who you were going to be up against, but what gave you I want to do this?
Dude, the baseline precognition is like, you're going to go and show, man. You're going to go and show, you got this. You can walk up to a penny machine. You can walk up to a kid that's in hyper crisis mode. For yourself, dude, there's only so many other times too. Like just one that comes to head because it's just one that I just love hassling my dad about is I told my dad not to drive this RV and it wasn't even like his normal gas station. I'm just like, if you go to a gas station this place, don't go to this gas station. I've seen it. You're going to wreck the car. Where does he go? And he wrecks the car. You know what I mean? So it's just like all these things that were like, all right, well, something's there. So let's at least go see, you know what I mean? Yeah. Worst case scenario is I have to put my tough skin on and I get laughed off stage and we know it's not for us. You know what I mean? And that would be, in my mind, that's the worst that can happen. Thank God that's not what happened because it was a whole lot bigger than at that time when I was thinking what I was going to be up against. Because I had no idea. I'm thinking this could be anything from like a rec room gathering to what it ended up being. You know what I mean? And so
there's a lot of folks that have heard of the Psi Games, got a little glimpse here and there. So we're definitely looking forward for you. Give us an idea. What was it like, not only from your perspective, but even for the perspective of the spectators?
Absolutely.
So folks that go this year, they have an idea what to expect.
Absolutely. So perfect, man. So I do all the testing, right? I won't go into all the testing, but they have these programs that you're testing in basically for the Psi Games to then also prove that you have a track record of like, this dude just got 19 out of 20 on precog and he just did it 6 times. You know what I mean?
Sure,
So what they would do is they would actually, the perceptualists is what they called us, the contestants, would actually get like a leaderboard. So it'd be your overall score over your runs would do a percentage and that would put you on a leaderboard, right? And so this whole time leading up to the Psi Games, I was either leading or the top 3 or at least top 5 in literally all 5 categories.
Podium.
Dude, podium. And so podium. It's just like one more thing too, where it's like, well, man, these aren't just like a random catch of people. These are people saying that they can produce, and they can produce on command. And we're top or top 3 or top 5 in every single one of these. So like either that precognition, dude, I will fully admit, I could absolutely, pardon my French, I could be the absolute luckiest son of a bitch there ever was. But to the point though, dude, where it's like at some point it's like there's so much now validation in actual documentation for me. I'm gonna say I'm psychic. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna own it, and I'm gonna love it. You know what I mean? Because
own it. Yeah.
So we do one more thing. So we do the testing. I obviously I make it through the testing. They call me. They're like, we have to have a face-to-face interview, kind of like we're doing now over the computer. That ends up being the intro video to Psy Games. So I had an intro video. So I'm like, okay, well, there's an intro video, so this might be a little bit bigger than I thought it was going to be originally, right? So I have like a walk down video, and that's online, guys. I've posted it. It's on Psy Games website. If you go to About, and then you can go to Perceptualist. Mine's there. There's all the contestants that are in there. But so I'm like, okay, well, this might be a little bit bigger than I thought it was. So now dude, at this point we're hardcore training. So and I want people to know this, and I'll keep getting into all the other stuff, but I want people to know from my personal view and my social media, from the moment that we signed up for the Psy Games in April, I did a video to my sponsors, to my family, to my friends, like, I think I'm psychic, guys. And I know in the moto community, like we're kind of in the Bible Belt. Colorado's a little bit more, forgiving in terms of, hardcore religious stuff. Cause there is, man, I've caught some on the backside of this of like a negative religion aspect. But so I'm just like announcing, because I'm like, I don't want people to come at me and start attacking me. And I also want people to know from the very start, from the moment that we're like, we are doing this is our baseline. So when you guys when I go and show, because I know I'm going to go and show, like everything in my heart is telling me we're going to go and show, you guys see my process of how I'm training. You guys see what I'm doing to train. You guys see that there's not, so if I'm posting a video, there's not folded cards or marked cards. I'm showing you the entire process. I show everybody my garage and my shop, which is like my stage for a lot of my stuff. So I want people to know, like, dude, my garage is nuts. Between the shop and the garage, dude, I'm telling you, it's like a 90s Applebee's threw up with like the old
it's wild, it's refreshing, it's confusing, it's exciting, it's natural, it's like it's everything that you'd be like, like something about this resonates with me.
Like if people just want to know whatever my mind looks like, just go walk in my garage for a little bit. There's dirt bikes and bicycles and monsters and creativity and art and love and superheroes and villains and everything.
Ryan, I wanted to ask you. So we're getting into how you got into a Psy game, which is really important for those of you that are listening or watching that might be interested for this coming year and the next year and so on and so forth. So just to clarify, because we haven't really mentioned yet, you are the 2025 champion of what category or categories?
Yes. I want to say this because I know I can come off arrogant, guys. I'm a racer. I know that sometimes my enthusiasm comes off as kind of arrogance, and that's not where I'm trying to go. So there were 5 games. I podiumed in 3. They did not let me compete in the other 2, so I didn't have the option. Even though I was the number 1 dowser, I still have number 2. Somebody beat me out like after the Psi Games. I'm still the number 2, but they didn't let me do it because I think they had so many people and they wanted to make sure. I mean, dude, you had people from Brazil, you had people from England, you had people from Australia, you had people from all over. So I think they wanted to also make sure that everybody could get in. You know what I mean? And so of the 3 games I competed in, I podiumed in all 3. I got first in psychokinesis. I got second in mind sight.
Before you go into all 3 of those, just so the first one, psychokinesis, again, for the audience that are watching and listening, again, what is that, and what is it that you're actually demonstrating, and then go into your second one and third one?
Absolutely. So psychokinesis, and I'm going to show you a completely different version. So, and dude, you have my permission to use any of my social media if you want to steal stuff and post it, because not steal stuff, but use it because I'm going to describe it, but physically seeing the videos will make more sense if you go on my social media. Psychokinesis, when we trained for it, when we tested for it, was keeping a random number ball generated Dude, this is the part with all the concussions.
It's all right. It's all right. Yeah.
So it was a random number generated ball that you would keep inside of a target, right? And so that's how I was training going into Psy Games. I am like, I'm going to keep this electronic ball in this electronic target, and we're going to be working with technology. Not at all what it was. So we get to the Psy Games, and we are... of course, it's going to be... Well, I'll show you this one. I'll grab my other one too.
Yeah.
So we are doing what's called an Igloo wheel. And so this is my Igloo wheel setup. So this is an actual Igloo wheel. So we go and so we do like... I call it a track walk. We get there Thursday. We learn... We see... Okay, so this is going to be the part where I'm going to talk to everybody. And guys, Psy Games took me literally... Me and my wife. And my wife... literally had no exposure to psychic or consciousness stuff, right? It took me and my wife both a week to kind of come down from the Psy Games and just everything that we were seeing and meeting. And so back to the psychokinesis. So we go in Thursday for the track walk, right? We do a dry run through of what it's going to look like. We kind of have, you know, the agenda. I want to say there's a better word, like I guess agenda, but like the timing, right? We know how how it's going to work.
Like
right?
a schedule or something.
Yeah.
Or,
So,
yeah.
Dude, that's the problem with all the concussions. I can say all these amazing things and then I lose the simplest words.
You're good.
So we do that, right? We learn what the games are going to look like. And so what I won was psychokinesis. And so I had never seen an Igloo wheel. So an Igloo wheel is this device. And I'm going to break it down for you guys because I'm not afraid. An Igloo wheel is this device that like is a kind of like plastic paper, kind of like propeller. You know, I'm a dirt bike guy. And so when I describe things, I describe them like dirt bikes, right? So you have the hub, which is the bearing. You have spokes that come out, and then you kind of have this rim, and then you have this kind of feathered tire part is what I'll call it. So what I've debated and analyzing, I only have one, so I've not broken this apart or tried to rip it apart. But what I've gathered in here is, you know, I'm a dirt bike guy. I know what a Speedo is, or like a bicycle Speedo, right? I think what the Igloo wheel is it's a bearing device, and somewhere in the rim, in this outside part, is going to be I don't know if it's metal or some sort of a device that connects with another device inside that gives you a reading of how fast it's going, right? And so
gotcha.
I would be willing to bet it's some sort of metal, and I'll tell you why now that I've had some more time with it. But long story short, in the Psy Games, I had no idea what this was. I had never seen one. I had no, like me and this woman named Carol Bassie, who was also a perceptualist, we literally had 2 minutes between the two of us. So we're sitting there trying to be like, okay, well, is this just mind? Is this energy? Is this, you know, what am I going to be doing on stage? You know what I mean? And at that point, we also did not know that our hands were going to be inside of a box. So I'll get into all that. So, because I want to tell you, because the experience of Friday was way, honestly, better than the Psy Games itself. And not better, but just different. But so Thursday, we learned about the Igloo wheel, right? And then we learned that we're going to try to make the Igloo wheel do something. And we do the run through, right? And we start to see the setup. And so the setup of the Psy Games was this whole side of a hotel in I guess let me back up one more time. So it's this luxurious hotel. It's this whole wing side of it. This whole wing has all these different rooms on the bottom of it, right? So every room has either a different vendor or a different experience. Man, I can tell you, me and my wife did these vibration tables where they also put these lights on, and it's basically like a false hallucinogenic experience. You know what I mean? Or like a false DMT experience. So you're between these LED lights shining on your eyes when they're shut, and these vibrations that are kind of causing those lights to create like a mandala. It's crazy, man. And you're listening to binaural beats, and just that one experience alone hit so many people. I can tell you, everybody that did that thing, you walked away from that different. And like you just
do you have a version of that in your garage?
I do, man. If you watch the video on it, dude. So I made my own version because
I thought I saw something like that, and obviously we're gonna get into your garage and everything, but interesting. Okay,
yeah.
continue,
So don't get me wrong. The one at the Psy Games is much more professional, dude. I hate to be like this. We're a little bit of like in terms of Psy Games. We are kind of average Joes from dodgeball. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? And there's some other groups out there that come in. I think they're the Globo Gym is what I'll say. Just because they're a lot more established and they have a lot more money rolling through them, just straight up. You know what I mean? And we're kind of grassroots doing it, but at the same token, like I want to make sure it hits everybody. I want everybody to see my process so that you guys can do it too. And you guys should not have anything up on me. I mean, I have a couple of little things I'm not showing everybody, but in general, I show everybody everything. So you guys will be training just like me if you watch my videos. You know what I mean?
Wow, Ryan, I want to say first of all, like I said before when we got on the camera here offline, I have seen quite a bit of your clips. They just pop through my feeds and everything, and that's cool. I was always thinking, wow, this guy's really like his training is pretty intense. Like you have music blasting, the lights and everything. And as I'm watching 1, 2, 3, or 4 videos, I'm trying to understand what's the objective here? Why is he training in this fashion? So now that I have the opportunity to ask you, why do you train so intensely? Where are you going with this?
Dude, so that's a good question. And I want to give you 2 different answers because there's 2 different parts of my heart. There's this part of me, man, that just wants to expand. You know what I mean? And Dahlia is the standard, right? Dahlia, and I know you've met Dahlia. Dahlia is the standard for the Psy Games. Dahlia can do all the things. She's intense. She's super sweet and nice. Like, don't get me wrong, but like her abilities are intense. You know what I mean? And so, I don't know. I want to be able to show people that you don't have to have the Globo Gym to get to where you want to be. You know what I mean? Maybe I might be Pirate Steve. Don't get me wrong, but our little group of kind of misfits can hang. You know what I mean? And maybe we're not doing it the same ways either. Exactly what you said, man. And I won't name out who I'm going to talk about. But I've had people come to me because like they want to participate in the Psy Games. They want to be a competitor. And man, a lot of other folks are teaching fun, but they're not teaching competition. You know what I mean? And competition, man, hell yeah, you're going to have music going. I've never been to a race where they're not blasting music and you're having people cheer and you're why would you train in an environment that's not what you're going to be producing in? Do you know what I mean? And so, dude, music blaring gets my adrenaline going. I dance. I literally danced all 8 hours, or at least mostly of the 8 hours of the Psy Games, just to keep my adrenaline going. So let me back up one more time, man. I have all this crazy stuff to say. When you are on the line of a supercross race, let's say supercross, not motocross. Motocross, you got like a bunch of dudes, but supercross, you've got a much tighter track and much bigger jumps. When you're on the line, your bike's on, your adrenaline's going, you're feeling your bike rumble, you're feeling the energy of everybody else, you're feeling their bikes, and every one of these guys is going for like a 3 to 4 foot square space of land for that first corner, and everybody's going as hard as they can. It's a spot where you can make the most passes, but it's also the spot where you can get the most hurt, and right out of the gate. And I've had that happen. I got thrown into the crowd from a start, like front flipping, and ended up dislocating my hip into my nether region. It's the starts are just intense, right? And so the ability to calm yourself. So I grab my chest protector, I take these 12 deep breaths, and I'm just visualizing, right? And you're focusing, you're setting that intention, and man, the second that I open my eyes back up, it's go time. You know what I mean? And so I lovingly say this. I think a lot of folks train in a more traditional way of like meditation or centering and all this calm. Dude, a competition is not calm. The Psy Games, if I'm at the Psy Games is not calm. I had people cheering. You know what I mean? I'll tell you about Fridays. I got to tell you about Friday, and I'll try to make it as fast as I can. But so we do Thursday, we do the run through, right? We meet everybody. It's amazing. I learn I'm doing the Igley Wheel. I put a little hope and prayer out to the world and a meditation because, man, I have no idea what's coming on Saturday at that point. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I am, there's as much as I know I'm going to do well, I am also like, oh my gosh, please just don't let me flounder on stage. You know what I mean? And so
before you continue, isn't that moment of like, I know I'm going to kick ass, but at the same time, I also don't know how much ass I'm going to kick.
No, exactly.
Isn't that the sweet spot right
exactly.
there for you?
You know you're going to go in and do well, but you just don't know what that's going to look like yet. You know what I mean? So, dude, I was like, if there is anything that could be done, man, Saturday, I'll talk about Friday, but Saturday morning, I was doing some mantras. I was doing some prayers. I was doing some exercise. Like I tried to eat healthy, anything that was going to help. You know what I mean? Because I had no idea what that was going to be, but. So Friday, dude, I got to tell you about Friday. So Friday we did all the lectures and man, once again, if you want to use any of my stuff, but to a moto dude, and I'm an alien dude. Like I like my alien encrypted stuff. I believe in spirituality and I believe that your energy can hang or be attached to things. I think your energies can flow, your consciousness can flow. And so I think my mom's with me in different ways. You know what I mean? I think my family's with me. So anyways, we talk about all this, like how I say this. They have so many speakers. They have a schedule of speakers, and there's multiple speakers going on at a time. So you kind of have to fit your schedule into it, right, and figure out what you're going to do. And everybody from like Chris Ramsey to John Colonel Alexander, and Danny Sheehan. Man, I just got to tell everyone because it's just what's seared into my head, and it's a moment of pure honesty. Danny Sheehan was sitting up front, and he is a tall dude. Like I'm tall, but I'm not tall. Like I'm like 5'9", 5'10", and Danny Sheehan's probably at least 6 foot plus, and his hair is another 4 inches, and it's amazingly white. And he was up front, so the whole time I'm walking back and forth with the games, and every single time I ended up like with my back to Danny Sheehan. I can feel Danny Sheehan, not him, but his hair, just like watching me, dude. You know what I mean? And so. And you have like VibraWorks, and you have all the crew from Vision Without Eyes, and you have multiple different remote viewing vendors, and you have all these people that have written books, and you have all these podcasters, and you have all these influencers and teachers, and man, literally thousands of people that are all in the same mindset as you. You know what I mean? And want positivity and want to grow consciousness, and they all dressed very professional. I came in just being like, I'm just going to wear my heart on my sleeve. So I wore my race jersey, my BMX race jersey at that time. I meet Colonel John Alexander in this like tight, BMX jersey. And I meet all these people, and, I think they didn't know what to do with me too, because I definitely was the Happy Gilmore, man. There's just no other way to put it. I was the Happy Gilmore of the Psy Games. We meet all these people. We go to these amazing presentations. They have keynote speakers in the main ballroom, all the big names, and then you had some of the teachers and influencers and other just folks. I mean, I can't even remember Pam, who did remote viewing and was doing the crime scene stuff, and Mike from VibraWorks doing his spiel, and just like all these, and Ramsey doing his thing, and just all of these different amazing, educated, influential people are giving these speeches and giving these talks where you're meeting them in person. You're getting to spend some time with them. You're getting to meet with like-minded people, and it's. Man, Friday, as much as the Psy Games, because don't be gone, Psy Games were badass. But Friday, in terms of like my wife had never been a part of it. She didn't know anything about it. She left changed after going to Pam Coronado, right? After going to Pam's thing, my wife was a changed person. You know what I mean? And dude, there's just so much. There's so much. I can't even. Yeah. They had like these. What's the projection thing of the Psi Games? I don't know. They had all these cool electronics. They had this. Okay, another good one. So I'm now in connection with this company called Weird Technologies, and Weird Technologies made this Phoenix for the Psy Games, and it used this thing called the Weirdoscope, I think is what it's called, but it basically would measure frequencies and create different colors based on the frequencies that were around it. And so when people were getting amped up at the Psy Games, this Phoenix would light up amazingly and beautiful and have all this crazy stuff,
Wow.
right? And so
Yeah.
not only are you getting all these like speakers, but it's like the Olympics, man. There's like this big podium Phoenix that's like the
symbol.
Exactly.
Let me ask you, for folks that there's a lot of folks that are listening, just getting excited off of what you're sharing here. So here's a question for you. You're around a lot of these like-minded folks that are just probably also as excited as you in some fashion. Do you think there's an activation that's happening among all of you because you're in the presence of each other?
100%, man. And part of the reason I appreciate you. Yeah, my wife's over here saying it was palpable. Like, just come on.
Absolutely.